I still remember the exact second everything changed. Because right before it happened, I was thinking about quitting my job. The coffee burned my tongue as I rushed out of the elevator, but I barely noticed. I was late, and being late at Summit Media Group was basically a crime, especially when your boss was Elena Blackwood. My phone buzzed in my hand. Conference room. Now. No hello, no context, just her name at the top of the message like a warning sign. I exhaled slowly and walked faster, my shoes echoing against the polished floors. Through the glass walls, I could already see her. Standing straight at the head of the table, typing like the world depended on it, like she always did. Elena Blackwood didn't look up when I entered. "You're 4 minutes late, Ryan." Of course she noticed. "Good morning to you too," I said, placing my coffee on the table a little harder than I meant to. The sound echoed in the empty room. She finally turned. Those blue eyes locked onto mine, sharp and cold like always. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, not a single strand out of place. Perfect. Controlled. Untouchable. The Morrison campaign revisions need to be done by 5. My stomach dropped instantly. "Elena, those revisions came in at midnight. My team hasn't slept. We've been pushing for 3 weeks straight. We need time." Her jaw tightened. "I don't pay you to need time. I pay you to deliver." That was it. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was watching my team drag themselves through the office like ghosts. Or maybe it was the way she always made everything feel like it wasn't enough. "We're not machines," I said, my voice sharper now. "When was the last time you asked how anyone was doing?" Her eyes narrowed. "If you can't handle pressure, you're in the wrong job." I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I've given everything to this company." "My team has too, but you wouldn't know that because you're too busy hiding behind emails and acting like a robot." For a split second, something flickered in her expression. Not anger. Something else. "You think you know what it takes to run this company," she said, stepping closer. "You don't know anything about what I've built. And you don't know anything about treating people like they matter." Now we were close, closer than we'd ever been. I could see a tiny scar above her eyebrow, something I'd never noticed before. Her perfume hit me, clean and sharp, like winter air. Her breathing was faster now. "You're impossible," I said quietly. "You're too soft," she shot back. The tension between us felt like it was about to break, like a wire pulled too tight. And then everything snapped. Before I could even process what was happening, she grabbed my tie and pulled me forward. And kissed me. Hard. Not soft. Not careful. It wasn't romantic in the way movies try to make it look. It was messy. Real. Like everything we had been holding back finally exploded all at once. My brain completely shut down. Her lips were warm, and I could taste coffee and mint. My hands moved on their own, finding her waist, steadying her, or maybe steadying myself. I didn't think, I just felt. Every argument, every late-night email, every moment we clashed. It all crashed together in that one kiss. Time stopped. The office disappeared. There was only her. And then just like that, it ended. She pulled back suddenly, like she had just realized what she'd done. Her eyes were wide, her cheeks flushed. For a moment, the Ice Queen was gone. And in her place, I saw something I never expected. Someone real. Someone nervous. Someone scared. "Stop fighting with me all the time," she whispered. Her voice shook. Before I could say anything, she grabbed her bag and walked out. Just like that, gone. The door clicked shut, and I stood there, completely frozen. My lips still tingled. My heart was racing, like I had just run miles. I dropped into my chair and stared at nothing. What just happened? The woman who made my life miserable for months had just kissed me. And worse, I kissed her back. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of it. A message from my team asking about the revisions. I stared at the screen. I had no idea how to answer. I had no idea how to do anything anymore. Instead of going back to my desk, I ended up in the bathroom, gripping the edge of the sink and staring at my reflection. My tie was crooked. My hair was a mess. I looked like someone who just had their entire world flipped upside down. "Stop fighting with me all the time." Her words kept repeating in my head. What did that even mean? Was it an order? A confession? I splashed cold water on my face, trying to wake myself up, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense. When I finally made it back to my desk, I worked on autopilot, answering messages, reviewing designs, giving feedback. But my mind was still in that conference room. Elena didn't come out of her office for the rest of the day. Her blinds stayed closed. Her assistant told everyone she was busy. But I knew the truth. She was hiding. And honestly, so was I. That night, I barely slept. My apartment felt smaller than usual, like the walls were closing in. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything over and over again. The way she grabbed my tie. The desperation in that kiss. That look in her eyes after. Had I missed something this whole time? Had all our fights meant something else? By morning, I had maybe 2 hours of sleep. I dragged myself to work expecting the worst. A termination email, an HR notice, something. But there was nothing. Just another normal day. Or at least, it looked normal. The office felt different the second I walked in. People looked at me, then quickly looked away. Sarah from design gave me a strange smile. My stomach tightened. Did they know? Had someone seen? I grabbed coffee, trying to act normal, but my hands were shaking. Ryan. I turned. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching me carefully. You okay? You look rough. Just tired, I said. He nodded slowly, like he didn't believe me. You and Elena had another one of your famous arguments yesterday? My throat went dry. Why? He shrugged. Glass walls. You know how it is. I forced a small laugh. Yeah, just work stuff. He didn't push, but I could tell he was thinking. After he left, I leaned against the counter, trying to steady myself. This was bad. If people were talking, if they suspected anything, it would spread, and then everything would fall apart. Around mid-morning, I saw her. She walked down the hallway, and for a second, I didn't recognize her. No sharp black suit. No tight bun. She wore a soft gray sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked different, softer. Our eyes met, and for a brief moment, I saw that same vulnerability from yesterday. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to say something. Then she looked away and walked past me. Just like that. Like nothing had happened. Like that kiss never existed. But my heart didn't believe that. And neither did the message that came seconds later. Unknown number. Rooftop garden. 1 o'clock. Please. I stared at the word please. Elena Blackwood didn't say please. Not to anyone. My chest tightened. Whatever happened yesterday wasn't over. It was just beginning. I spent the next hours staring at the clock like it was broken. Every minute felt slower than the last. I tried to work, I really did. Opened files. Reviewed designs. Typed feedback, but nothing stayed in my head. My mind kept going back to that one word. Please. By the time 1 o'clock finally came, my chest felt tight. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, needing the extra seconds to breathe. Each step felt heavier than the last, like I was walking towards something I couldn't take back. The rooftop garden door creaked as I pushed it open. The wind hit me first, cool and sharp, carrying the sound of the city below. Then I saw her. Elena stood near the railing, her back to me, her arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold something together. For the first time since I'd known her, she didn't look in control. I'm glad you came, she said softly, still not turning around. I walked closer, stopping a few feet behind her. We need to talk about yesterday. I know. She finally turned. Her eyes looked tired. Not just from lack of sleep, but something deeper. Like she had been fighting something inside herself for a long time. I meant what I said, she added. About the fighting. I crossed my arms, trying to steady myself. What exactly did you mean? She took a slow breath. We fight about everything. Every conversation turns into an argument. I can't remember the last time we just talked. You're not exactly easy to agree with, I said. A small smile flickered across her face. Neither are you. The tension didn't disappear, But it changed. Softer, less sharp. "So you kissed me to fix that?" I asked. Her expression shifted again. "I kissed you because I'm tired," she said, her voice quieter now, not just from work, from pretending. I frowned. "Pretending what?" She looked down for a moment, then back at me. "Pretending that I don't feel something every time you walk into a room." My breath caught. "I've been fighting it for months," she continued. "Fighting you was easier than admitting that I care." The wind picked up, pulling strands of her hair across her face. She brushed them back, her hand shaking slightly. "You're the only person here who doesn't back down," she said. "Everyone else agrees with me, avoids me, or fears me. You challenge me. You push back, and I kept starting arguments because it was the only way I knew how to be close to you." I stared at her, trying to process everything she was saying. "Why didn't you just say something?" I asked. She let out a small, humorless laugh. "Because I'm your boss. Because there are rules. Because I've built my entire life on being in control." She paused. "And you make me feel completely out of control." Silence settled between us. Heavy, but not uncomfortable, just honest. "Yesterday," she continued, "when you said I don't know how to treat people with respect, you were right." That surprised me. "I don't," she said. "I never learned. I learned how to survive, how to win, how to keep everything from falling apart, but not how to connect." Something in my chest tightened. I stepped closer without thinking. "I fight with you because you frustrate me," I admitted. "Because you push too hard. Because you don't know when to stop." Her lips pressed together slightly. "But also," I hesitated, then said it anyway, "because I care about what you think, more than I should." Quote. Her breath hitched. We stood there, closer now, close enough that I could see the small details in her face, the tension in her jaw, the uncertainty in her eyes. "I don't want to fight with you anymore," I said quietly. "Me neither. But I don't know what happens next," I added. "You're my boss." "This isn't simple." "I know." She looked down at our hands, then back up at me. "I don't have a plan," she admitted. "I just know I don't want to keep pretending this isn't real." The city hummed below us. Cars moving, people living their lives. Completely unaware of what was happening above them, I thought about walking away. About choosing the safe option. About protecting my career, my reputation, everything I had worked for. But then I looked at her. At the woman who had spent months hiding behind control and arguments. At the person who just stood here, completely honest, completely vulnerable. And I couldn't walk away. I reached out slowly and took her hand. Her fingers were cold from the wind, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she held on tighter. "We'll figure it out," I said. "Together?" "Together." For the first time, she smiled. Not that professional, controlled smile she used in meetings. A real one. Soft, warm, a little unsure. "Thank you," she whispered. We stayed there for a few minutes, just standing side by side, hands linked, letting the moment settle. But reality didn't wait long. By the time I went back downstairs, something felt off. The break room went quiet the second I walked in. 5 people stood near the coffee machine, and every single one of them stopped talking. Jennifer looked at her phone like it was the most important thing in the world. Tom grabbed his mug and left without saying a word. The others followed. Just like that. I stood there alone. A strange feeling crept into my chest. This wasn't normal. I poured my coffee slowly, trying to act like I didn't notice. But I did. And it got worse. When I got back to my desk, I had a message waiting. "Marcus, people are talking. Be careful." My stomach dropped. Talking about what? The conference room? The rooftop? Had someone seen us? I typed back quickly. "What are they saying?" No reply. I leaned back in my chair, my heart starting to race again. This was exactly what I was afraid of. Whatever was happening between me and Elena, it wasn't just between us anymore. And if people already knew, then we were in serious trouble. The rest of the day dragged. People avoided eye contact. Conversations stopped when I walked by. Even my own team felt distant. And Elena? She didn't come out of her office once. Not once. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at my phone. At 11 o'clock, it buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. "Do you regret it?" Quote. My heart skipped. I sat up instantly. I didn't even have to think. "No, do you?" The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "I regret that it's hurting you at work." I stared at that message. "They look at you differently now." I typed back. "They look at you differently too." A few seconds passed. Then my phone rang. I answered immediately. "Hey." Her voice was quiet, tired. "Hey. We can't keep doing this over text," I said. "We need to actually see each other." There was a pause. Then she spoke again. "Tomorrow night, there's a place in Lincoln Park. Small. Private. No one from work goes there." "Okay." "Ryan?" "Yeah?" Another pause. "I'm scared." I closed my eyes for a second. "Me too." Silence filled the line. But it didn't feel empty. It felt real. And somehow that made it even harder. Because whatever this was, it was only getting deeper. And we were already running out of ways to hide it. The next evening felt different from anything I'd experienced before. Not like a work meeting. Not like one of our arguments. Not even like that moment on the rooftop. This felt real. Pierre's was smaller than I expected. A quiet little restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop. Warm yellow lights glowed through the windows, and the smell of garlic and herbs hit me the second I stepped inside. She was already there, sitting in the corner, away from everyone else, and for a moment I just stood there and looked at her. Elena Blackwood, the woman who ran an entire company like nothing could touch her, looked nervous. Her fingers played with the edge of her napkin. Her shoulders were slightly tense. Her hair fell loose around her face, softer than I had ever seen it. She looked up when she noticed me, and something in her expression changed. Relief. "You came," she said quietly. "Of course I did." I sat down across from her, and for a second, neither of us said anything. It was strange. We had spent months arguing, talking, pushing against each other. And now sitting here, we didn't know where to start. "I ordered wine," she said after a moment. "I hope that's okay." I smiled slightly. More than okay. Without thinking too much about it, I reached across the table and took her hand. She froze for a second. Then slowly, she relaxed. Her fingers curled around mine like she had been waiting for that. We started with small things, safe things. She told me about a book she was reading. Something about a world where people could feel each other's emotions just by touching. I told her about my college roommate who convinced me to go skydiving even though I was terrified of heights. She laughed at that. A real laugh. And I realized something in that moment. I had never heard her laugh like that before. At work, everything about her was controlled, measured, careful. But here, she was different, more open, more human. At some point, the conversation shifted without us even noticing. We started talking about things that actually mattered. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked. "Regret what?" "Building all of this. Giving up everything else for it." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down at her glass, tracing the edge with her finger. "I don't regret building it," she said slowly. "I regret how I built it." I leaned forward slightly. "What do you mean?" "I pushed people away. I chose work over everything, every time." She paused. "The last person I dated told me I cared more about this company than I ever would about him. And was he right?" She met my eyes. "At the time, yes." That hit harder than I expected. "And now?" I asked. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she tightened her grip on my hand. And somehow, that said everything. The waiter brought our food, breaking the moment. We ate slowly, talking between bites, sharing things we never would have shared in that office. But underneath it all, there was something else. A quiet tension. Not the kind we had during arguments. Something softer. Something deeper. Like we both knew this could change everything. When we finally left the restaurant, the air outside was cool. We walked side by side, not rushing, not speaking much, just existing in the same space. And somehow, that felt enough. When we reached her car, she turned to face me. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of what?" Everything, she said. What people will say. What the board will think. What happens if this falls apart? I stepped closer. Me too. She looked up at me. But I'm more scared of walking away, I added, and wondering what could have happened. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then she reached up and touched my face. Her hand was warm, steady. When did you get like this? She asked softly. Honestly, I smiled a little. I have no idea. She laughed quietly. Then she leaned in and kissed me. This time, it was different. Slower, gentler, but somehow stronger. Like we weren't fighting anything anymore. Like we were finally choosing it. When she pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. We have to be careful, she whispered. I know. No long looks at work, no obvious signs. At least for now. That's going to be hard. She smiled slightly. Everything with us is hard. I let out a quiet breath. Yeah, but it's worth it. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she stepped back and opened her car door. I'll see you tomorrow, she said. Yeah. I watched her drive away, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to calm. But it didn't last long. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I frowned and opened the message. Saw you and the boss at Pierre's. Interesting. My heart dropped. I typed back instantly. Who is this? Quote. The message didn't go through. Blocked. A cold feeling spread through my chest. Someone had seen us. Someone knew. And they wanted me to know that they knew. The walk back to my apartment felt longer than usual. Every shadow looked darker. Every sound made me turn my head. By the time I got home, my hands were shaking. This wasn't just gossip anymore. This was something else. Something dangerous. The next morning proved it. The second I walked into the office, I knew something was wrong. People weren't just whispering anymore. They were staring. Phones were out. Groups were forming. And then I saw it. An email. Sent to the entire executive team. Subject line, inappropriate workplace relationship. My chest tightened as I opened it. Every detail was there. The conference room. The rooftop. The restaurant. No pictures, but enough words to make everything clear. Too clear. I looked up slowly. People were watching me, not hiding it anymore. Judging. Whispering. Everything we had tried to keep quiet was now everywhere. Elena's office door slammed open. She walked out, her face completely blank. That cold, controlled version of her was back. Stronger than ever. She didn't look at anyone, didn't look at me. She just walked straight to the elevator and disappeared. My phone buzzed again, a message from her assistant. Mr. Chun, Miss Blackwood requests you in the 15th floor conference room immediately. The 15th floor! HR. My legs felt heavy as I stood up. This was it. Everything we had just started was about to be tested, and I had no idea if we were going to survive it. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like it lasted an hour. I stood there staring at my reflection in the mirrored wall, trying to keep my breathing steady. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. When the doors opened, Elena's assistant was waiting. Her usual calm expression was gone. She looked almost sorry. Conference room C, she said softly. I nodded and walked past her. Inside the room were 3 people I barely recognized, 2 women and 1 man, all in dark suits, folders open in front of them. Elena was already seated at the table, her back straight, her face unreadable. There was an empty chair next to her. I sat down, leaving a small space between us, even though every part of me wanted to reach for her hand. Mr. Chun, one of the women said, we're here to discuss the email that was sent this morning. The next 2 hours felt like an interrogation. When did this begin? Who initiated contact? Were any business decisions influenced? Did I feel pressured? Was there favoritism? Every question felt like a test. I answered calmly. Honestly, it was mutual. No business decisions were compromised. There was no favoritism. They asked Elena the same questions after asking me to step out. I sat in the hallway staring at the floor, feeling like my entire future was being decided behind that closed door. When they finally called me back in, their expressions were impossible to read. We'll be conducting a full audit of the past 6 months, the older woman said. All campaigns, promotions, financial decisions. And until this review is complete, the man added, you will maintain strict professional distance. No private meetings. No communication outside work channels. Elena nodded once. I nodded too. We didn't argue. We didn't defend ourselves. There was nothing to defend. Outside, rain poured down over Chicago. I stood under the building awning watching it fall, my mind racing. My phone buzzed. Elena, rooftop. 5 minutes. Please. I didn't hesitate. The rooftop was soaked. Water pooled between the planters. The wind was stronger than before. Elena stood at the railing, rain plastering her hair to her face, her suit jacket dark and heavy. I should resign, she said without turning around. End this before it destroys everything you've worked for. I walked up beside her, rain soaking through my shirt instantly. No. She finally looked at me and her eyes were red. I kissed you in a glass conference room. I put both our careers at risk. The board is already questioning every decision I've made. Then we fight, I said. She stared at me like I was crazy. Ryan, this could end everything. Or it could prove we didn't do anything wrong. I stepped closer. We didn't cheat anyone. We didn't manipulate results. We didn't lie. We just fell for each other. Her shoulders shook slightly, and I realized she was crying. I built this company from nothing, she whispered. If they push me out, everything I worked for is gone. Then we don't let them, I said. I pulled her into me, rain pouring down around us. I didn't care who could see. I didn't care about the windows below. I'm not ashamed of this, I said into her hair. I'm not ashamed of you. She held on to me like she was afraid to let go. The next morning, she did something I didn't expect. She called an all-hands meeting. The entire company gathered in the auditorium. The air was heavy with whispers. I sat near the back, my chest tight. Elena stood at the podium, calm and steady. I'm sure you've all seen the email, she began, so I won't pretend it doesn't exist. The room went silent. Yes, she continued. Ryan Chun and I have developed a personal relationship. It began recently. It was mutual. And it has not influenced any professional decisions. Whispers started, but she held up her hand. I have spent years building this company. I have sacrificed a lot, and for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to care about someone. Her eyes moved across the room. I will not apologize for being human. The silence that followed felt endless. When the meeting ended, people filed out slowly. Some looked upset, some surprised. A few even looked supportive. Over the next few weeks, the fallout hit hard. The audit took hours every day. Investigators reviewed emails, campaign numbers, performance reports. A few senior managers requested transfers. One client paused their contract. It felt like everything was hanging by a thread. But the numbers told the truth. Every promotion I received had performance data behind it. Every campaign I led showed results. There was no favoritism, no manipulation, no misconduct. Just two people who happened to fall for each other. When the board called Elena in for the final meeting, I waited in her office, pacing like I was about to get life-changing news. When she finally came back, her face was blank. Well, I asked. She closed the door behind her. They're satisfied with the audit. My heart stopped. And? They suggested we consider whether continuing this relationship is worth the damage to morale. My stomach dropped. What did you say? She looked at me, and slowly she smiled. I told them if they tried to force us apart, they'd lose both of us. I stared at her. You said that. I did. And? They backed down. For a moment, I just stood there, letting it sink in. Then I pulled her into my arms. Relief hit me all at once. We survived. 6 months later, we moved into a small apartment near Millennium Park. Nothing fancy, just big windows and a view of the lake. Work adjusted. People moved on. Some still whispered, but most didn't care anymore. The Morrison campaign won an industry award. New clients signed on. Life settled. One evening, we sat on our balcony watching the sun set over the water. Elena leaned against me, wearing old jeans and one of my hoodies. Her hair was messy. Her makeup was gone. She looked peaceful. "Remember when you told me to stop fighting with you?" I asked. She laughed softly. "That was terrible advice. We still fight all the time." "Yeah," I said, "but now we fight about pizza toppings instead of campaign budgets." She turned to look at me, her blue eyes warm in the fading light. "We're fighting together now," she said. "That's different?" "Yeah," she whispered. "It is." I took her hand, threading our fingers together. "No regrets?" I asked. She smiled, that real smile, the one that still caught me off guard. "No regrets." The anonymous email didn't destroy us. The investigation didn't break us. If anything, it forced us to choose each other openly. We stopped fighting each other and started fighting for each other. And for the first time in my life, I knew exactly where I belonged.